Hello friends, hope you're doing great. Hope you're having a lovely day. My name is Anna and I'm coming to you from Seattle, Washington, and it is a lovely rainy autumn day in Seattle, which you might not think is lovely, but we've had a really hot, dry summer here in the Northwest, and I know a lot of people think of Washington as like constantly raining, but it only rained like half an inch over like 5 months, so it's crazy. So I'm really happy that it started raining. We had some really bad wildfire smoke days and the rain has kind of washed all that away, and it really feels like fall now. We've got like, we've put a fire in our fireplace for the first time in our new house, and it's just like everything is cozy and I can wear my hats and my sweaters and it's lovely. So I love fall, as I'm sure you can tell, and I'm really happy that we have fall weather finally here in Washington. So yes, anyway, my name is Anna. I like to knit and make things, and I do live in Washington. And today I'm going to talk to you about all the stuff I have been doing throughout the month of October. Cannot believe it's already November. I don't know, I feel like everyone says this in every video, but 2022 has gone by very quickly, in my opinion. It's just been like a crazy month and a lot of big things have happened for me. So that's probably partly why, but yes, it's already November, which is crazy. So I'm going to talk you through all the projects that I worked on in October, some finished objects, some amended objects, some works in progress, some yarn that I purchased, and some plans that I have for November, because I'm really excited about some things I'm going to be casting on soon. I just have a lot of cast-ons that I'm like really excited about, and so I want to talk about all that with you. So if that sounds nice, then we're just going to do that. Cool. So by the way, this is a hat. This hat is a handmade hat my friend Courtney made, actually. She's one of my good friends that I met when I was living in Washington, DC, and she like posted on her Instagram one day that she was just like trying to clear out her stash, had made some hats, would send them to anyone who wanted them. And so I was like, I'll take one. I feel like knitters are the best people to send hand knit gifts to because they appreciate them so much. And this is like one of my favorite hats ever. I'll show you it a little bit closer. It's just like this burgundy, kind of, not even burgundy, just like a dark red. I'm pretty sure it's a merino. And I asked her and she said it's the Dima's hat pattern. It's not a pattern I've ever made before, but here, I'll take it off so you can see, and you can see my hat head. It's the kind of hat that has like the folded stockinette brim where you attack it down and then it's just like a double thick brim. And I love this style of hat because it's warm, but I feel like it holds its shape really well. And yeah, I love this hat. She sent it to me like a year and a half ago now, and I wear it all the time. I love it. So Courtney, if you're watching this, thank you for this hat. I do love it. But yes, I will link the pattern for this hat down below, even though I didn't make it. It is a hand knit hat and I really like it. So yes, and I will be putting on my finished objects throughout the video so you can see, but other than that, I'm just wearing a t-shirt. So yes, all right, enough babbling. I'm actually gonna start with some refinished objects. So if you watched my last month's knitting roundup video, my September knits video, I said in that video that I wanted to spend October kind of doing some fixes, and I said you were welcome to join me in this like fall fix along, very casual, informal knit along, where we just kind of fix some of the things with projects that we finished that were not quite right. And I did end up doing that. I had 3 projects that I was focused on for this month, and I did finish, well, mostly finish all of them. The first one was a pair of socks. This is just a pair of vanilla socks that I made back in like January or February, not too long ago, in like a DK weight, and I had made them top down with a heel pattern or a heel construction that was new to me, and they were just too short. Like they weren't fitting right. I had extended them once and they were still too short, so I extended them again. I just pulled the heel out, ripped back, and added probably like another inch to them. So I think the first time I knit them, the heel started, or the toe started like right here. So they're here, I'll show you. So they were like this long in the foot, and then I added a little more and they were like this long, and now they're this long, and they fit really well. They look much more like a pair of socks that would fit me. They're really short in the leg, but they're very simple. 2x2 ribbed cuff. This is called a shaped common heel, where you do this heel flap and then do a Kitchener stitch at the bottom and then pick up around the side. If you're interested in learning how to do this kind of heel, I'm pretty sure Inga's Morsel pattern is very similar to this. Her rustic cable socks have this kind of heel construction, and then she has a pattern that's just for the Morsel socks. It's very similar, or you could just look up a shaped common heel. But yes, and then it's just stockinette through the foot, and I did a rounded toe on these. So it's got this kind of like star looking thing, like a crown decrease on a hat almost. So yes, I just added like 1 inch to the length, the feet of these socks, washed and blocked them, and I've worn them, and they are kind of felted in a couple of places. On the heel, you can kind of see there's a little bit of felting happening, and there's some color that's like from rubbing on my boots because I do wear these in shoes. But I actually don't mind when my socks felt because I feel like it makes them sturdier like that. The fibers are really bonded and they're not going to get holes in them. So this isn't 100% wool yarn, by the way. There's no nylon in here, so I actually kind of like it when they felt a little bit. I feel like it makes them a little bit more sturdy. So yeah, that was my first fix. Just added some length to this pair of socks. My second fix was more time consuming, and I had to make a couple edits to my sweater number 11 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So I showed you this in my last video, and if you go back, I think I knit this back in April. So if you go to my April or May video, you can see it when I first finish it, and I will link that video down below for you. But I knit this with some recycled yarn. It's like a cashmere merino angora blend. It's really lovely with some nylon in there as well. And it's really lovely. And I liked the sweater, but the sleeves were a little bit too short, and I can put a picture of it here. When I first finished it, you'll see that the sleeves with the cuff and everything went like right to my wrist, which was fine, but I felt like when I was wearing it, I was always pulling on the sleeves to make them a little longer. So that was like a sign to me that I needed the sleeves to be a little bit longer. And then this pattern originally has a folded, like a big squishy turtleneck. And I just didn't want a big squishy turtleneck. I wanted this to be more of like an all season sweater, like that I could wear in the spring. And that big chunky turtleneck just didn't seem super seasonally versatile. So I had originally knit a double folded collar, and it just wasn't laying right. It was like kind of loose, and then I put elastic in it, and then it was too tight. So I re-knit the collar as well. So what I did for the sleeves, this has, by the way, this sweater number 11 by My Favorite Things Knitwear has fully twisted rib on the cuffs and all the details. So it's knit through the back loop and purl through the back loop. And I did the fully twisted rib. Just because I wanted to follow the instructions in the pattern. And I like the look of it, but it really hurts my wrists to do that. Like, it's just like an extra step, and there's a little bit more wrangling with the yarn. It's not as fluid, it takes a long time, and it actually causes me some physical discomfort. So I didn't want to have to re-knit these cuffs when I was ripping back to add length to the sleeves. So what I did some sweater surgery. I picked up stitches around just like above the cuff, and I picked up stitches like 2 or 3 rounds below that and just had them on circular needles, and then I cut my knitting and unraveled it so that I had this cuff like completely separate, and then I had the sleeve attached to the sweater. And then I just knit like 2 more inches. So I think the cuffs originally started like down here. You can't really tell looking at the knitted fabric where the surgery was. Like, it looks pretty uniform. If you're looking super close and you're a knitter and you could probably pick it out, like you can probably pick out like right there is where I did my Kitchener stitch. But overall it looks pretty seamless. But anyway, yeah, I think it was about here. So I knit just this much more and then Kitchener stitched this cuff back onto the sleeve. And I like the fit so much more now. It just feels better. It's like goes to about here on my hands, and I'll put a picture of me wearing it or a video so you can see the difference in the fit. But it's a good bit longer on the arms. It feels more comfortable. It feels more comfortable over the shoulders because the way that this sweater is constructed, you do these kind of like increases on the back when you're picking up or when you're making the back piece, because it's a drop shoulder, you do the back and then the front. You have this kind of like increase row, and it's pretty tight. Like there's not a lot of stretch in here because of the stitches. Like, I'm pulling really hard and it's not stretching. So when I was pulling on my sleeves when they were too short, it just felt really tight over the shoulders. And now that I don't have to pull on my sleeve, it does feel a little bit more comfortable over the shoulders. So you can kind of see. And then, so that feels more comfortable. And then I went back to the neckline, and I had originally just unraveled the folded neckline and then bound it off normally, but it was like really loose and floppy. And I decided that I needed to completely unravel the whole neckline and pick up fewer stitches and knit it again. Because I think the reason it had you pick up so many stitches is because it's folded over, so you want that a little bit more fabric in like a big turtleneck. But when I was doing a single fold, just like normal bound off collar, it was like looking really flary and weird. So I ripped all the way back and picked up probably like 20 or 30 fewer stitches, and knit probably 4 or 5 centimeters, and then bound off with an Italian bind off. And it's still, and it just looks a lot better. Like it looks a little gapey right now when I'm not wearing it, but when I have it on, it fits really nicely. It's not too high up on my neck, but it's still comfortable. The only thing that I think is a little goofy is that the ribbing on the sleeves is quite long, and so it looks a little bit out of balance with the ribbing on the neckline. I don't know why. This probably just bothers someone who's a knitter, but it's like just an imbalance of ribbing, but I think it looks okay. I obviously need to finish, that's actually woven in, I just need to trim it off. But yeah, so that's this. Overall, I like it much better now. I still, and I said this when I first finished it, I still think that the armholes on this sweater are just too shallow, and I kind of wish that they were a little wider. So I might block this again and just like really stretch the arms, because it's quite loose in the body. It's quite boxy in the body, you'll see in the cutaway, and then pretty fitted on the arms. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves for sweaters. I hate when things are really tight on my arms. I just really, really hate it, especially when the body fit is not tight. It just like feels really weird to me. Like I don't like the way that it feels on my body. So I think I'm gonna maybe block this again and just widen the sleeves a little bit more. And if I were to make this sweater again, I would just knit a few more rows before joining in the round so that I could have a larger armhole. So yeah, all in all, I'm much happier with this sweater now. I wear it much more often. It's much more comfortable, and it's good timing because it's gotten cold and I can now wear this. And this is super toasty warm because it's that merino cashmere Angora blend. Super, super cozy. So yeah, that's my first full fix salon fix. My second actually. And then the other one I did was this. This is my Rubus blouse square neck, which I knit, when did I knit this? April or May, sometime in the spring. And I knit this with one strand of unspun yarn. This is a Canadian unspun yarn from White Buffalo, which no longer exists, but you can sometimes find White Buffalo yarn on the secondhand market. So it's a single strand of that. Briggs & Little is very similar. And when I originally knit this, I knit it perfectly to pattern, and this pattern is written for 2 strands of mohair held together, so a much drapier fabric. This is a 100% wool that's not stiff, but it's like got structure to it. And so when I initially knit it, the sleeves on this were just like really, really big and loose, and they like looked out of proportion with the body, just mostly because of my yarn choice, I think. And they're meant to have puffy sleeves, but it was just like in the arm, it looked out of proportion. There was too much fabric. So I ended up ripping back the sleeves and doing a ton of decreases. I think I decreased out like 20 stitches from what the stitch counts in the pattern are to make it fit a little bit more slim to my arm. And I like the look of it much better. I think just because of the yarn that I chose, I needed way fewer stitches to get the same effect as the pattern has. So you can kind of see, it looks a little bit funny when you're not wearing it, but it looks fine when it's on. You can see I did this like kind of, there's a little hole in there I probably need to sew up, but there's kind of this like line of stitches where I decrease super rapidly. I decreased on every round for like quite a few rounds, and then I just knit straight after that. So it gives you this kind of funky effect, if you can see on the body there. I don't know the best way, I can't really hold this up so that you can see, but you can see like this is where the raglan starts, and then I decreased these stitches out. So it looks kind of funny. I mean, in retrospect, I could have just stopped the raglan earlier, but since I didn't want to rip the whole thing out, I just decreased a bunch of stitches out. And so it looks kind of funny when it's not on, but that's not really that important. When it's on, and I'll do a cutaway for you again, and like a before and after, it looks perfectly normal. I'm undecided. I still kind of want to add some length to the body of this. It's not cropped, but it's not super long. I'm undecided if I want to add length to it, because sometimes I wear it with skirts, and so I like it that it's a little bit shorter. It also has an I-cord hem, which has a tendency to roll, so I think I might swap that out for like a fold over hem. But for right now, I think I'm going to leave it, and I have more yarn if I want to do some more modifications to it, but for right now, I'm much happier with it. I think it looks a lot better and fits a lot nicer. And so yeah, this is more of like a spring piece for me to wear. But now it's all ready and I can wear it in the fall. It's like a very versatile color. It's a nice top. I'm going on a trip to like a small family reunion in a couple weeks, and it's gonna be kind of chilly, so I might bring this to wear to some of the evening events that we have. So yeah, that is this. I really like this pattern. It's by, what's her name? Refined Knitwear, a Danish designer. She has lovely, very like classic feminine pieces. I especially really like the raglan on this. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see, but it has these little almost like eyelets on the raglan that are super pretty, and a lot of her designs have these. So yes, I will link the patterns down below for you, but that is my last fall fix along project. So really happy with how that turned out as well. Might be making some more fixes in the future, but for now I'm happy with it. So yeah, those are my 3 fall fix along projects. So now I'll show you my finished objects, my new finished objects, not my refinished objects. Okay, so the first one you saw in the last video, and it was almost done then, and I told you I was probably gonna finish it that evening, and I did in fact finish it that evening. And that is my, oh no, what is the name of this hat? August hat. This is the August hat by Sari Nordland. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous cabled hat. It's got these super pretty little cables and then these big kind of like, I don't know what these are called. They look like horseshoe cables to me, but I don't think that's what they're called. Anyway, I knit this in a 100% wool yarn, reclaimed, I think it's like an Irish wool that I dyed with avocado pit. So it's got this kind of faint pink, but you can see the brim, I'll fold it down. The brim and the body are knit with 2 different skeins. They were all in the same dye lot, but they didn't dye super evenly. So you can see like there's a pretty significant color difference in there. And I don't think it really matters with the brim folded up, but I'm gonna put this on for you so you can see what it looks like. I just am not sure that this is the right color hat for me. So I think I might dye it. I really like the pattern and the fit of the hat. It's a little big, there's only one size and it's a little bit loose. I kind of wish it was smaller, but you'd have to take out a bunch of repeats and that wouldn't really work. So this is really, it's fine. It's like a chunky hat and it definitely is like a statement piece, kind of pointy at the top, but I really like it. Super cozy, super warm, but I just am not sure that it's a color is kind of close to my skin tone, and I already have 2 other kind of beige hats. So I think I'm gonna dye this a different color. And I have a ton of dyes to choose from. So I was thinking like maybe like a purpley color. I don't have a purple hat. I don't have a green hat. I have a red hat. I have a couple beige hats. I have a pink hat. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I could go dark, like a dark blue. I do have some dark blue yarn that I need to knit into that. So I'm thinking like a plum kind of color. If you watch like many episodes back, I think it was in June, I knit a pair of socks for my grandma and I dyed the yarn over a base that was pretty similarly colored to this actually. And it came out in this really gorgeous plummy purple color. I think that's what I'm gonna do to this. But let me know your thoughts, what color you think this hat would look good as, because I really like the texture on it and I like the fit of it, but the color's just not doing it for me. So anyway, that's my August hat by Sari Nordland. I really like the pattern. It's super easy to follow. The chart is really kind of intuitive once you figure it out. So yeah, and I'll wear this for the rest of the video just to give it some mileage. I just like how chunky, sorry if I'm, oh, there's a tail. That's what this is. This is a yarn tail that's not very woven in. I'm notorious for not weaving my ends in, so it's a common theme on this channel. Anyway, yeah, I really like the look of it. I have a big head and I think a really chunky hat kind of makes my head look a little smaller. I don't know, I could be crazy and it may actually look make my head look bigger, but I find it kind of helps balance me out a little bit. I don't know, let me know what you think. Anyway, yeah, what color do you think I should dye this? It's very pointy, but I like it. So yes, that's my August hat by Sari Nordland, which I finished like the very, very beginning of the month. And my next finished object, I'm very pleased with. This is my Guernsey sweater from not Petite Knit, from Sedness Garn. It is a lovely cabled, textured, cozy, off-white, like natural sheep white cream sweater. I made it out of this yarn. This is a sweater from Eddie Bauer. That's upside down. That I pulled apart. It had stains and moth holes in it. It's 100% wool, made in Hong Kong. And I took the yarn and reknit it into this. So There are some stains that you can kind of still see, but they're spread out over the yarn, so you can't really tell that they're stains. They look more like intentional. But yes, this is my sweater. I'm really happy with it. I love the fit of it. It's extremely oversized. This is from the Sandnes Garn Mikkel Dama Soft for Women 2202 pattern book. It came out in, it's their spring 2022 pattern book. Sandnes Garn has finally uploaded the pattern pages for these designs on Ravelry, like just this week. So if you go to my Ravelry project page for this, it will link you to the pattern and you can kind of read more about it, but there's also lots of information online. You can't buy the pattern through the website. They don't sell these patterns individually, but I've also have a video, which I will link up here and down below for you, about dupes for these patterns. This is very similar, I would say, to the Petite Knit Ingrid sweater, kind of similar to the Moby sweater, although that's more like a traditionally cabled sweater. Anyway, I digress. I'm really happy with it. It has this moss stitch at the top, and then this cabled section, this like lattice section, and then it has this double moss stitch, these like braided cables, and then big, thick 2x2 rib details. I knit the smallest size in the pattern, is like extra small, and I think my gauge was slightly off, but I ended up with about 122, maybe 124 centimeter circumference, which is about like 30 centimeters of positive ease for me. I'm not going to say my measurements out loud, but if you have questions, you can ask down below. I know it can be kind of touchy for people to hear what other people's bodies are shaped like. So if you're interested, you can leave me a comment. But anyway, this gives me about 30 centimeters of positive ease, and I'll put a cutaway so you can see what that much positive ease looks like on my body. But it has a really deep drop shoulder. And I knit the sleeves decently long. The sleeves have one less pattern repeat than the body. So you can see when you pick up for the sleeves, you start pretty immediately with these lattice cables, and then you do the double moss stitch and you do the braid, and the pattern basically tells you that you can like stop the sleeve at any point. But you can, it does also say that you should put some of that like single moss stitch in here. And if I had done that, the sleeves would be like extremely long, which they are in the pattern photos. But for me, it goes to like, the sleeves go to like right here. And I did a really pretty long rib at the cuff because I like a long rib. It's 2x2, and I think this is like 8 or 10 centimeters. It's quite long. But I love the fit of it. I like how the sleeves fit because I'm just gonna put this on. It might be easier. Okay, I took the hat off so that it would not be distracting. But anyway, we can look at this together. So you can see like there is the drop shoulder. I don't know if this microphone is distracting, but I'm gonna keep holding it. The drop shoulder comes down pretty far on my arm. It's like right here. And the sleeves like cover my thumb is the length of the sleeves. So yeah, there's a good, like there's quite a lot of positive ease here. This is my body and this is where the fabric ends. So quite big and quite cozy, but I really like it. And yeah, you can see like the sleeves, that's about where they hit me when my arms are down. And then if I'm like working at my desk or something, I like that they have a little bit of space in them, but they're not huge. So you can see there's like a good, that's probably 2-3 inches of space in the wrist. And I really like sleeves that fit this way, that are long and cozy, but not tight. Like I said, I have a weird thing with tight sleeves. So yeah, this is it in all of its glory. And yeah, I really like this sweater. I guess I'll just keep wearing it. I think the last time I showed it to you, it didn't have any sleeves on, or maybe it had only one sleeve. So yeah, I finished this probably like 2 weeks ago, and I've worn it a couple times already. I love the long cuff. Actually did it a little bit longer than the pattern said because I wanted it to match the length, the length of the ribbing on the bottom. So the arm and the bottom. Okay, I'm just really struggling today. You can see my pajama pants. The arm cuff and the bottom cuff are the same length. So yes, that is my Guernsey sweater. Oh, there's one thing I did want to show you and ask your opinion on. So when I picked up for the neckline, you can see that over here, it's kind of wonky. And it looks really nice on this side, but on this side I had a little bit of a harder time. And I'm just trying to decide if that bothers me enough that I should undo and reknit the neckline, or if I'm just being annoying and it's not that noticeable and I should just leave it alone because my hair is going to cover it anyway. Let me know what you think. I know we just had a whole month where we were talking about fixing things. So I just don't know if that's like noticeable enough to deserve re-knitting this double folded collar. Let me know what you think. It's a little wonky. It does kind of bother me, but I have some yarn left over and I can always re-knit it later after I've lived with it for a little bit. So let me know what you think. I'm undecided on that. But yeah, that's my Guernsey sweater. I love it. It's lovely, lovely, and super cozy and perfect for winter. Oh, it's so cozy. I love it a lot. Okay, I've already worn it quite a few times. It's the best. All right. I'm out of breath. That is all of my finished objects for this month. Just the hat and the sweater, because I was fixing and because I've been working hard on some more complex projects. So I guess we can start with the little one and then we'll go to the big one. I'm working on a new hat. If you watched my last video, you'll see that one of the testers for the August hat by Sari Nordland made a really beautiful version in this like lemony yellow color, and I just like fell in love with it. I'll pop a picture of her version again up here, but it was in this gorgeous like light creamy yellow, like a lemon ice cream kind of color, or like a lemon curd, like a really lovely creamy soft yellow. And I was obsessed with it, and I was looking around for yarn, and then I remembered that I had some yellow yarn in my stash, and it's this yarn. This is a mystery kind of fuzzy yellow yarn that I had in my stash that I bought at a Goodwill like over a year ago now, probably a year and a half ago, and I have 5 little skeins of it, and it didn't come with any tags on it or anything, but I think it's that like vintage kind of mohair yarn that's like mohair and acrylic, and it's like a thicker strand, and you can see here. There it's going, it's thinking about it. You can see the thickness of the strand here is much more than your typical mohair. It's like probably 2 strands of a typical mohair, and actually, look, we can do a comparison. This is like my last video. So, there we go. So the yellow, which is over here, oh no, I'm gonna drop that, is much thicker than this like lace weight fuzzy yarn. So it's like probably a fingering weight or a sport weight yarn. But I have 5 skeins of it, which is like 300-ish meters, which I figured would be enough for a hat. So I am making this hat. This is the Cinnamon Beanie from Drops, which is a free pattern that's very, very similar to the Oslo hat by Petite Knit. Drops has tons of free patterns. I will say they do have a tendency to like rip off of independent designers, which makes me feel not great about it, but yeah, I'm not promoting them. I wouldn't say like run there, and I would say if you can support like a smaller designer, obviously please do. But anyway, this is the Cinnamon Beanie pattern, which is similar to the Oslo hat. It's not exactly the same. I looked at some of the pictures, and the Oslo hat is constructed slightly differently. So it's like a similar vibe, not exactly the same pattern. But the point is, it has a triple folded brim that I will fold up like this, and that will be the brim of the hat. So I've done the brim, and I'm now working on the actual rest of the hat. And I'm probably not even halfway done with the rest of the hat part. So yeah, this ribbing part will not show. You fold this up on top of it. But anyway, I have this much left of my second little skein. So I'd say I'll probably end up using 3.5 of these skeins of yarn for this hat. I probably won't use up all that I have. And if I don't use up everything, then I may knit myself some like fuzzy mohairy socks, because I've heard good things about fuzzy mohairy socks. I know Inga has a couple pairs that she really likes. Inga from Knitting Traditions. And Ozetta, who's one of my favorite designers, has some mohair, some socks that pair with mohair, like pair Let Lopi with mohair, which has got to be a very lovely combo, because you know how I feel about Lopi. Sorry, I dropped some stitches. I'm trying to pick them up right now. So yeah, I would love to try like a mohairy fuzzy sock combo. But yes, this is my beautiful springy, happy, lemony yellow hat that I will be wearing as soon as it's finished. And I don't even know, I haven't tried it on to see if it's gonna fit. Oh, it's gonna be a little snug. I made the smaller of the two. Oh no, it'll be fine. Hat stretch. But yeah, this is snug, but I think it'll be okay. I've maybe should have made the larger of the two sizes. It wasn't a huge difference. It was like 8 stitches more, but yes, that's my hat. I will be done by the next time I see you. I'm sure that's my like public transportation knitting. And yeah, cinnamon beanie / Oslo hat. Very similar vibe in a mysterious yellow yarn. So that's what I'm working on. Not super helpful for you, but that's what I'm working on. And my next whip, which has been getting pretty monogamous attention over the past, when did I cast this on? Almost 2 weeks ago now, probably. This I'm really excited about. This is my spot sweater by Ann Wenzel. I have been wanting to make this sweater for like many months now, and I didn't have the yarn for it, and then I found this yarn which I thought was perfect, and I cast it on, and here we are. I am pretty close to splitting for sleeves. I think I have about one more repeat to go before I split for sleeves. The modification that I've looked at a lot of people's Instagram pictures for this project and read a lot of Ravelry notes, and people say that the yoke is quite deep, and you can see right now like it is already going to be quite deep, and so I'm going to split I think a little bit earlier than the pattern says for, and just cast on a few extra stitches under the arms to accommodate for that. But yes, it is a pretty deep yoke, but I don't mind that. I like a good, as I said, I don't like tight arms, so a good deep yoke. I don't know, this is like a good deep yoke, and this is a good amount of stretchiness in the arms. So hopefully it'll be similar to that. And the good thing about a deep yoke is that you don't have a lot of body left after you split for sleeves. So yes, this is my spot sweater. I'm about to split for sleeves. It is making a really lovely fabric. I'm using a blue contrast and a white base color, and I'll show you my floats on the inside. They look quite nice. I am catching my floats, so you can only on this long round where you can see this like quite wide white section is, that's the only place I'm catching my floats. So it's like every 3 stitches. If it's longer than 3 stitches, then I will catch a float. Except for over the raglan, you can see there's some longer floats, but yeah, there it is. Okay, I'll talk to you about the yarn that I'm using now. This is like one of my first big yarn purchasing months in a while. So there's this store in Seattle that I love that's called Seattle Recreative, and it's like a craft thrift store. So they sell, they take donations of used or like of just people's unwanted craft supplies, and then they resell them for really good prices, honestly. And they like once a year, usually they'll be like, we have so much yarn and we can't like sort through it all. So just like come and we'll put all the yarn out and you can dig through it and buy it and it'll be great. Because usually you can either buy yarn like by weight, or sometimes if it's like a brand new skein, they'll price them individually. But this annual sale is a great time for them to get in ahead of when they have a chance to price the skeins individually and buy the yarn by weight. And they sell wool for 100% wool is $17.50 a pound, which when you break it down is pretty good. A pound is about 400 grams. So $17.50 for 400 grams of yarn-ish. So when I went to that event, I found the yarn for this sweater, like all of the yarn that I needed pretty much. So the white color that I'm using is this Nature Spun, and I'm not sure what the brand is. If you know, please feel free to let me know. I think I don't know if it's Sheep's Pride or Wool's Pride. It's from a company based in Minneapolis. And it's just called Nature Spun on the label. This is just the natural color, and it's a sport weight yarn. This has 368 yards per 100 grams, which is about 350 meters. It's 100 grams, and I got 3 of these. So that's like 369, just over 1,000 meters, which I calculated with the yardage that needed in the pattern, and that should be fine for my size. I'm making the 3rd size in this pattern. So yes, I got 3 of these, and I'm almost split for sleeves, and I still have probably about 20 grams of this first skein left. So I have 2 more full skeins of this. And then I'm holding it with a fuzzy yarn, which I wasn't intending to do. I feel like I've been knitting a lot with mohair and fuzzy yarns lately, which is not normal for me. But just recently there's been a lot of fuzzy yarn in my life. But anyway, I am holding it with this yarn, which is a undyed yarn that I bought from Ice Yarns, which is like an Icelandic, almost like wholesale distributor. You can get some really good deals on there. And you can see, so this yarn is, I have 500 grams of this, which is about 1,600 meters. And so I have more than enough to do this sweater and a little extra. I bought this like well over a year ago, just cause it was like $10 for, or maybe even less, maybe like $7 for this, for 500 grams of this yarn. And it was like a really good deal. So I bought it and I figured I would use it for something, and it's been sitting and sitting and sitting. And I dyed some of it to try to use it for another project, and it didn't work out. And so I still have a lot of it, and I'm going to use it in this project, obviously. And this is I think it's 40% mohair, 40% brushed alpaca, 18% polyamide or nylon, and then 2% elastane, which is kind of strange. So if you look at this yarn, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see it against my white sweater, but you can see it has like, it's extremely stretchy because it has that elastane in it. Here, let me see if you can see it against my hand a little better. It's like really stretchy because it has elastic around it. And I'll almost maybe do a close-up for you, like a cutaway, so you can see, but there's like elastic, like a tiny little elastic that's wrapped around the thread of yarn, which is kind of strange, but it was really cheap. So that's why I bought it. And it's 80-20 mohair, alpaca, mohair / 80-20 fluff and core. So I think that's pretty good. 80-20 is about as much synthetic, like 20% synthetic is about as much as I'm comfortable with in my fibers. I really try to knit mostly with animal fibers or natural fibers only. I try not to knit with synthetic fibers. So yeah, but I bought this before I was really committed to that. So anyway, I have this, I have tons of it. So that's the white. I'm holding those two together to get the white. This is a tangled mess, but yeah, I'm holding those two strands together. And then for my contrast color, I found this yarn when I was doing my little shopping, and I just thought it was super special. So this is, I have 5 of these little, I think they're 50 gram skeins. The tag probably says. It's 2 ounces, which is a little bit over 50 grams because 100 grams is 3.5 ounces. So a little bit over 50 grams is this gorgeous blue yarn. It's very old. It's got the tag on it. If it will focus, please focus. There we go. Okay, so the tag is Candide, lightweight, 100% virgin wool made in Canada for Candide Yarns in Woodbury, Connecticut. And the back says color fast, moth proof, shrink resistant, 275 yards for 2 ounces. The color is 21, the lot is 61, but this is what really got me. It says copyright 1961. So that makes me think that this yarn was manufactured like 50 years ago. Maybe a little bit less, but like she's been sitting around for a while waiting to get knit up, which I think is kind of special because like if this yarn was made in the 60s, it's now, that was 60 years ago almost. 50 to 60 years ago. So for 50 to 60 years, this yarn has just been sitting in its skein, waiting to be knit up into something beautiful. And I got it for a really good price. I got lots of it. I have 3 more skeins. I'm just starting my 2nd skein in the project, so I should have more than enough. But for 60 years, this yarn has been waiting to be knit up into something beautiful. And now I get the chance to do that. And that just feels really special to me that I can like, this yarn has been waiting for its destiny for so long, and now I get to make it into something gorgeous. And I love this yarn. It's so cool. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see it because we're really losing the light here, but it's like really heathered. It's got like blue and black and like little white flecks kind of all twisted into it. It's a really cool yarn. It's a single ply, like very light fingering weight. You can kind of see in there a little bit the nuance of it, the blacks and the lighter colors. It's gorgeous. Has a lot of spinning oil in it. But anyway, it's a fingering weight yarn, so I'm holding it double because this sweater is knit at a 22 stitch gauge, which is kind of between fingering and DK. And I'm like spot on gauge for this, so I should be getting the size really well, the fit really well anyway. So yeah, it's making this gorgeous sweater. It's very graphic. It's very interesting. It's very cool. I'm really happy with how it's going. It's very like comforting and repetitive. It is kind of slow because it's knit at like a smaller gauge, 22 stitches, and I'm on 4.5 millimeter needles, which is the recommended needle size. And you're doing stranded color work on every single row. So it's a little bit slow, but I love the fabric that it's making. It's kind of dense. And so it's not super drapey, but you can see there's movement in this fabric, and It's going to be extremely warm because it's like double thick. The one modification I'm making is that in the pattern, this row of raglan stitches is pearls. And I understand why she does that because it kind of brings these two stitches together and like you can't see the jog almost in the pattern as much, but I just didn't like knitting it that way, and I wasn't sure that my pearls were going to be super even doing it that way, so I ended up just doing it with knits. But I just think this is such a cool pattern. I really like Anne Wenzel's design aesthetic. I know she's not the most inclusive pattern designer, so bear that in mind, but I think a lot of her patterns are top-down raglans, which are pretty easily modifiable into making them larger sizes. I wish she would extend her size range, but that is a whole nother discussion. But yes, she just has a really beautiful design aesthetic. I've knit her Badger and Bloom sweater, which I love. It's a circular yoke, and it's like the best fitting circular yoke I've ever worn. I really like that sweater a lot. She has a new pattern coming out pretty soon, which I think is called Smilla sweater, that I really want to make. It looks gorgeous. She has so many beautiful designs. So yes, I really like this sweater. It is a little bit difficult getting started because you have to knit this first, and you can kind of see from my floats, this first section is knit flat and then you join in the round. So you can see colorwork flat was kind of tricky, but because it was only for 12 rounds, I was willing to persist. So yeah, that is my spot sweater. I'm really excited to work on this. I really want to get this done relatively soon, so maybe I can wear it around Christmas time. But yeah, I think after I split for sleeves, it will go pretty quickly because I have a lot of stitches on my needles right now, and colorwork every round with like so many stitches takes a long time, but I'm about to split for sleeves. I want to do that today. Like I'm going to split for sleeves before I go to bed. That's my goal for the evening. So yeah, that is my spot sweater and the cool special yarns that I found to knit up with it that I'm really excited about. I need to hurry up because the sun is fading very fast. I might need to turn a light on here in a second. But yes, that is my spot sweater. And then I do have one other work in progress that I started and then haven't made a whole lot of progress on, but I was really excited about this pattern and I ordered yarn for it. And so when the yarn got here, I cast it on and then I got a little tripped up, so I stopped. But this is the beginnings, like the very early beginnings, just basically the collar of the anemone sweater, which is a sweater that I found, I don't know if I first saw it on Ravelry or on Instagram, but I was like obsessed with it instantly and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, I need to cast this on right now because I want it immediately. And I was kind of torn on what kind of colors to do. And then I settled on this golden color and now I'm just super, super excited about it. The pattern is by a Swedish designer called Marita Clemens. And I'll put a picture of it here so you can see what it's going to look like. But it's got this gorgeous like stranded colorwork flowers all over it. And it just seemed so happy and cheerful and beautiful. So I've just cast it on and I did actually start the colorwork section. You can kind of see, but I think I made a mistake. So I might need to rip it back and start again. Actually, I did make a mistake and I am not sure that I love the way that the chart is sitting. So I might need to make some changes, but yes. Yeah, this pattern is a little tricky. This is not a beginner friendly pattern at all. So just be warned. It does not hold your hand at all. It's very simple. So you have to like make a lot of assumptions about things, but I'm really excited to be knitting it. And I just love the yarn. I love the colors. The like golden yellow with the white is going to be super cute. So I'm going to talk to you about the yarn because this is also an acquisition. I got 3 skeins of this yarn, which is Briggs & Little Heritage. You can see, which is a Canadian yarn I bought through I brought from Maritime Family Fiber, which is Briggs & Little's US distributor. And Heritage is a worsted weight yarn. It's 2-ply, 113 grams, 4 ounces, and this is about 215 yards or 200 meters per a little over 100 grams. So a nice chunky worsted weight yarn. The pattern is originally knit with 2 strands of Plotalopi. I love Lopi, but I wanted something a little softer. This is still rustic for sure, but it's not quite as scratchy as Lopi. So I'm doing that. And then the white is you can kind of tell by how noodly it is. This is a reclaimed yarn. I found this really gorgeous sweater at the Goodwill that was a hand knit sweater that someone had made. But the fit wasn't quite right for me, so I bought it to use the yarn for something else. And so I've thanked the knitter who knit it before me. I took some pictures of the beautiful cables of the sweater, was really grateful for this, was like very intentional, was trying to be like respectful when I was pulling apart, respectful of the knitter who made it and put their time into it. And now I'm gonna knit it into something else beautiful. So something I really love about knitting is that like you can just keep reusing and reusing and reusing the materials, and various knitters can get enjoyment out of knitting and then wearing the same yarn. It's really magical. So yes, this is the beginnings of my anemone sweater by Emerita Clemens. By the way, this Briggs & Little Heritage is in the color Yellow WO. It's this gorgeous, like kind of tonal, yellowy gold. I love it. I love it so much. Briggs & Little is super affordable and really great. So yes, I got 3 skeins of that, and I'm just gonna work away on this sweater. I think I might come back to it once I split for sleeves on my spot sweater, but in the meantime, I'm gonna focus on spot before I come back to this, because I don't know if I can have 2 stranded color work patterns going on at the same time that are like pretty complex. So that's gonna sit on hold, I think, for a minute, but yes. Okay, I gotta hurry because we're really running out of light now. So I just have a couple more acquisitions to show you. When I ordered that Briggs & Little, I ordered some more because I've been planning to. So I bought 4 more skeins of Briggs & Little Regal, which is their DK weight, 100% wool. Come on. Yes, this is Regal in the color Fur Green. Regal is also 2-ply, 100% wool, 4 ounces, 113 grams. And this runs 272 yards, which is about 250 meters. And I bought 4 skeins of this because I already have 1 skein of this Fur Green color that I bought in Vancouver, BC in Canada last Thanksgiving time, end of last November, so almost a year ago now. I bought 1 skein of it at Wet Coast Wools. I'm thinking I would like make a hat with it or something, and then I started using it in a colorwork project that I ended up frogging, and then I was like, I really like this yarn, and I like the color a lot, and I decided that I want to use it to make the Marseille sweater by Petite Knit. So I'm going to use this as the main color, and then I'll use a white as the contrast. The Marseille is a very similar shape to the sweater that I'm wearing. It's like a big oversized drop shoulder with some white, or with some, doesn't have to be white, with stripes, like a Breton stripe kind of thing. So this will probably be a cast on in the new year, I would say, or maybe in like December, not super soon. But I bought enough skeins so that I can do that project in like a very generous size, and it'll be super big and cozy, and I love this color. It's also kind of a heathery color. We're losing the light, so I'm not sure how well you can see, but it's got like kind of blue and yellowy tones and flecks through it. It's gorgeous. And I love this yarn. Like, I love the 2-ply construction. It's super bouncy. It makes great stitch definition, and it's like rustic but not scratchy. It's like a good toothiness that's like you can feel it on your skin and you can appreciate the sheep, but it's not scratchy or itchy or annoying. So I got a bunch of that, and then I put on my Instagram, as you may know, I'm trying not to buy yarn this year. I've failed abysmally in the last few weeks, but I put on my Instagram, I was like, oh, do I need to buy this yarn? And like, obviously all of you said yes, because you're like me and you love yarn. But then I had especially one person who was like, yeah, you should buy the yarn, and you should also make sure that you buy enough to get the free shipping threshold. And I was like, you're right, because just with the yellow yarn and the green yarn, I would have had to pay for shipping. And so I added one more thing so that I didn't have to pay for shipping. And that is 1 skein of the Briggs & Little Country Roving, which is a unspun yarn, which you know that I love. And I got this like natural deep sheep's brown color. I'm not sure how well you're gonna be able to see it because it's in plastic. And I'm gonna leave it in the plastic, but super lovely, chunky, 227 grams of yarn here, and it's 5 strands held together. So if you unstrand them, it's about 700 meters of yarn. It's quite a lot. And I'm planning on using this with some other unspun yarn that I have in my stash to make the zipper sweater, the Gia zipper sweater from the Sunnis Garn book, which is kind of similar to the Petite Knit zipper sweater. It's like got the big chunky collar and the zipper, but it's a little different. And I'm planning to make that and stripe it. So that plan might change. I'm not planning to cast that on anytime soon, but that's what I got it for, and I may end up doing something different with it, but TBD. So that is it. That's all my acquisitions. And plans. I do have plans. I want to make, if you've watched my video before, you might have seen, I have this green yarn that it's like a Finnish single ply yarn that I bought secondhand months ago, and then it was like a weird color, so I dyed it and it's more of like a mossy green. And then I bought a mohair to hold with it, and I was planning to use it to make the Formation sweater by Pop Knit, and I've been talking about that for months. But then I had an epiphany, like probably last week, and I decided that instead of using it to knit that, there was something about it that was holding me back. I have had the yarn for months and I haven't cast it on. There was just something that I was like had a little bit of like reserves about. So then I was just perusing my Ravelry, doing my ruminating about knitting as I do. And I was like, this would be the most fabulous, perfect, beautiful, wonderful moonset pullover by Ozetta. Which, if you're not familiar, it's like this very cozy, again, like drop shoulder, oversized sweater with this really pretty V-neck. And I was like, that is what that yarn needs to be. So the yarn has now spoken to me and told me that it needs to be a moonset pullover. And I'm like now antsy to get it cast on because I know it's going to be so gorgeous and I can't wait to wear it. And it'll be like perfect. It would be a perfect like fall winter knit because it's this like deep green and it's super cozy, and like because it's got the mohair, it's like super soft and lush. But I need to finish. I need to at least finish my spot sweater before I cast that on. Partially because my spot sweater is knit on 4.5 millimeter needles. My anemone sweater is knit on 4.5 millimeter needles. And the moonset pullover is also knit on 4.5 millimeter needles. I only have one pair of 4.5s. And so I was thinking, I could buy another pair. I could borrow one from my friend Meg, who has the same set of interchangeables as me. And I was like, I could wait, I could cast it on, I could just switch the needles between projects. I finally bought the needles. I bought the needles today with a gift card I had on Amazon, and I bought the needles and they're coming tomorrow. So I have now 2 pairs of 4.5 millimeter needles. I don't know if anyone else with interchangeables is like this, but I always end up seeming to need the same needles at the same time. So I now have purchased myself, I have 2 sets of 3.5s, 2 sets of 4s, and 2 sets of 4.5s. And I don't think I'll need doubles of anything else, but knock on wood, maybe some 3s, I don't know. But for now, I'll be knitting on a lot of 4.5 millimeter needle projects lately. So I'm really excited to cast that on, and maybe you'll see that in my next video. Or if you guys are interested, I could do like a project vlog for that video. I've seen other people do these videos and I really like them, where they like basically take you, like vlog the whole knitting process for one garment. This just like popped into my little head. So if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, let me know. I'm happy to do that for you. I think that'd be fun. So yeah, we could do that together as well, but I'm really excited to cast that on. And then the other thing I want to cast on, I have 2 more plates left of the Hillesvåg unspun yarn that I bought when I was in Scandinavia this year that I love. One is like a dark gray color and one is a natural white color. And I have 1 skein of each of them, so I could stripe them together. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do with them. I could stripe them together to make a sweater, but I think I want to make them into like a giant cozy wrap. I think that would be amazing. Just like to envelop myself in a cozy, soft, squishy, delicious shawl wrap, schlanket situation. So I was originally thinking I would knit it single-stranded and I would use the 2 colors to make a half and half wrap from Pearl Soho. Then I was feeling a little concerned that yarn is too delicate. It's like Newtoden, but maybe even more delicate than that. I was concerned that it would be too delicate to knit it single-stranded. So then I was thinking I would make the Winter Tales shawl by Ozetta, which is this super big, cozy, delicious wrap garter stitch shawl, which is made in Plotulopi. But then I looked closer and it's also knit single-stranded, and I just don't think I'm brave enough to knit single-stranded. So I think what I want to do is hold 1 strand of each of the colors together, the white and the gray, to get this kind of marley color. So I'm not sure if I want to do it garter stitch, or I have this like little worm in my brain that's telling me I should do it herringbone stitch. I don't know, but I'm like kind of itching to get that cast on, or at least swatch for it. But I'm pretty happy with the whips that I have going on, the small one and the big one and the kind of barely begun one. So I'm undecided on that, but maybe I will do some swatching for it once I split for sleeves on my spot sweater. So yeah, that's where I'm sitting right now as far as knitting. Lots of things I'm excited to be knitting, lots of things I'm excited to cast on. Like there's just a lot happening and I'm really excited, and I just love this time of year for knitting. It's the best. And I probably need to do some gift knits as well. I need to knit some socks for Christmas time, which is also in my brain. So that's what's coming up. That's what you can expect to see from me in the near future. So yeah, that is all we have. The light is really going now. I'm sure it's very dark in here. I'm not sure how well you can see me anymore, so I need to finish. Yes. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any suggestions for me down below about like the color to do this hat, or what I could use the unspun yarn for, or how I should knit a shawl with my Hillesvåg, which is very similar to Nutiden. Just let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything that I talked about today. Lots of thoughts, lots of excitement, lots of rambling. This is going to be a long one, so thank you for sticking with me this long. If you're new, we would love to have you subscribe. I love to chat with you all in the comments. I'm really good at responding to comments on YouTube. I'm kind of okay at responding to messages on my Instagram, which is here. You'll see it. It's apt.atelier. It's my knitting account. And yeah, I've also done some sewing this month, but obviously we're well out of time to talk about that. If you want me to talk about sewing in another video, I'm happy to. If you have any recommendations for videos you'd like to see from me, please let me know. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you again very soon.